Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, and what we're going to make are cookies. This is an easy recipe, I think a very good one. If you like coconut, you're going to like this recipe. If you like fruit or dried fruit with coconut, you're really going to like this cookie. And what I'm using today is actually diced plums, dried plums, prunes. For some of you might think, oh, I don't know, I don't like prunes. You could use raisins instead, but I think if you give this recipe a try, it's a good one. I really think you'd like the flavors. I really do. So let's get started. First, you're going to start off with a ½ cup of butter. And I would suggest to keep it at room temperature because you want it in a little bit of a softened state. Now you can use your hand mixer if you prefer. I'm using my stand-up because it's quicker for the recipe. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to break and start creaming that butter, so I'm going to warn you about the sound of the mixer. Alright, once you break up that butter and you get it nicely creamed, then you're going to add a cup of brown sugar. Alright, and I moved it along at a higher speed. You're going to take probably 2 or 3 minutes or something like that. But again, I'm going to move it along for the video. The next thing you're going to put in is a teaspoon of vanilla. So beat that in. Now once that's all incorporated, then you're going to add 1 egg at room temperature. And stay with that till it's all creamed together. I'm just going to take a second out here and clean the sides and the bottom of the mixing bowl where it tends to stick. And I'm going to turn it on just for a couple more seconds here. Alright, now we're going to start with the dry ingredients. You'll need 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. In that 1 1/4 all-purpose flour, you're going to put 1 teaspoon of baking powder. You're going to put a ½ teaspoon of salt. You're going to put a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon in it. And then with a spoon, or I'm using my little whisk, just to stir that up. Now I'm sorry I no longer put the recipe below the video, so hopefully I went through slowly enough and clearly enough that you can jot down the ingredients. And now I'm just going to start slowly putting the dry into the wet mixture. And you want to use a low temperature because you don't want your flour to go all over your kitchen. Before you know it, of course, you have a cookie dough. And now you're going to add your sweetened, or you can use unsweetened shredded coconut. I'm using sweetened. That's a ½ cup. And then I'm just going to stir that in, beat it in. And then the last thing, of course, I'm going to put in is the diced cup. 1 cup of diced prunes, which are very moist, very flavorful, and just a real healthy fruit. It makes these cookies taste, well, when you have the brown sugar and the coconut, it's a moist, chewy cookie. But oh, it smells good just putting this together, and when you bake them, your whole kitchen is going to smell just really good. Okay, and then I'm just going to beat that in. And that's not going to take you very much time at all, maybe about 2-3 minutes. It depends if you're using a hand mixer or a stand and what speed you use and that kind of thing. But it doesn't require, you know, a lot of beating is what I'm trying to say. And I'm just going to take the excess off my paddle here. Now, you're going to need, of course, a cookie sheet or cookie pan. If you're not using your parchment paper and you can use your Teflon mats. If you don't want to use any of it, I would lightly grease the pan. And if you're going to use the spray oil, I would suggest to spray it more on the heavier side. If you're not going to use grease or, you know, shortening or whatever you use, then I would spray it very well with your spray oil spray oils that come in the can. Now you have your nice little cookie dough here, okay? And I'm using a medium size, okay? And they will spread out just a little bit, not much, but you know, give them at least, you know, a couple inches, that kind of thing. Now you don't have to flatten them down. This cookie though, when it bakes up, it is going to have more of a flat surface to it. So, you know, there are people that really prefer their cookies to have a nice rounded top. This one doesn't really produce very round top cookies, more of a flat cookie. But again, that does not affect the great taste of this cookie. Okay, so I won't bore you with putting more down on my parchment paper because you get the idea, of course. Now you're going to bake these at 350 degrees and they're going to take you anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And you know, all our ovens set up so differently. So I really start watching mine around 8 or 9 minutes. And if you're going to use 2 trays at a time, you know, again, rotate your trays. You don't want to overbake these cookies because you want them to have that moistness left to them. You don't want them all dried out. Now I'm going to quickly rinse my hands because I was working with raw cookie dough here. And I'm going to show you what the finished product looks like once they're baked up. And I generally get about, I think about 22 cookies out of this recipe using the medium scoop. Now, if you don't have a scoop, go ahead and use a tablespoon, about, you know, 1 tablespoon of cookie dough. Of course, if you're going to make larger ones, you're going to get less, you know. And your baking time will be a little bit different. But this is the size that they do come out on the medium size cookie scoop that I showed you earlier, which I think is a nice size cookie. It will have a hard finish on the top. You'll have your nice golden brown, also a hard finish on the bottom, okay? And then you'll see on the top, you'll have all those nice diced prunes, those sweet fruit, as well as your coconut. And then when you break it open, you'll see how moist and delicate and light these cookies are. And I'm just going to squeeze them just a little bit to give you an idea how moist they are and how they pull apart. And you'll have nice pieces of fruit in there and coconut. Oh, these cookies are really good tasting. They really are, and especially with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or even a nice cold glass of milk. These are just delicious, and they're really quick and easy to make. I want to tell you very quickly, again, I'm sorry I don't put the recipes on because it's not really worth the time anymore, and I'm certainly not alone on this, but I always encourage people, if you like this recipe and you tried it and you like it, well, leave a comment. Write to me. I'd like to hear from you. And when I started to see my work being posted and pinned and taken to other sites and people claiming my work theirs, it's just not worth the time anymore. But I do want to suggest, if you don't mind, to please solely watch me on YouTube. It's the only place where I put my videos, and if you write to me or have a question or have a comment, I will answer you in a timely fashion. But it's so frustrating to see you writing to me and I can't answer because it's not on YouTube. So I really appreciate your time in watching today. If you'd like to subscribe, I really appreciate it, or like the video, or even ring the bell. I can't thank you enough. So I always want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.